Okay, so I don't know if you can hear me back there.
Can you hear us? Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Maybe a bit like this. Okay, so today we are going to present you a presentation called FOSS as a Business. My name is Davor Popović, and this is my colleague Hrvoje Varga.
Hello, world.
We heard the last presentation before this. It was a very interesting presentation, and I must say that I recognize many of the aspects from the presentation in my everyday job, because we do FOSS as a business. We use open source tools for everyday job and for a living. First, just to introduce ourselves a bit. So, as I said, my name is Davor Popović. I work at Sartura, our company, since 2015. I started working as a software developer, and currently I'm taking more of the management roles and leadership roles, so to say. And Hrvoje?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Hrvoje, as you all know, and I'm also employee at Sartura with my colleague Davor here. I am actually an embedded software engineer there, working for 1 year or so, but from Osijek. But yeah, we will cover that later on. So, yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to mention in this presentation, first we will tell something about ourselves, who we are, what we do, who are our customers and clients. Later on, Hrvoje will tell more about FOSS and internal open source technologies that we use. He will tell you a bit about OpenWrt. OpenWrt is our core business, is what we do, where we are experts in. And basically all of our business is revolving around OpenWrt at this moment. How many of you here know about OpenWrt, what it is? So yeah, there is quite a few who actually know. So for those who don't know, OpenWrt is a Linux distribution which is specialized for gateways and routers. So it's very handy for networking and for setting up routers and gateways. Hrvoje will also mention our open source development environment, which we use for developing inside the company. We like to call it the ultimate open source development environment.
Yep.
Later on, we will also discuss a bit about the pros and cons of using open source in practice in industry for developing and deploying a project. And we will just mention the open positions that we currently have for those who might be interested. So Sartura. Sartura is a company which was founded in 2013. Since then till now, we are mostly working with international clients, international companies. We have some domestic clients as well, but majority of them is based outside. Name itself, Sartura, comes from the Latin word for patch. Vision, which we share, which we have in Sartura, is to gather Linux enthusiasts and open source supporters. Currently at the office, most of the guys working have some hacking, but not in a way of black hacking background. They were developers, they participated in different open source projects before they arrived at Sartura. They know the open source principles and are very big supporters of the movement and philosophy in general. We always try to use the bleeding edge technologies back in Sartura. We always encounter our customers to do as well. And at the end of the day, we always aim to deliver high quality and safe software solutions. So what we do? We provide services for our customers. Services in development, meaning that we develop custom applications for our customers. We develop our own applications, which then they can use. For the development, we use C, C++, Go, scripting languages. Hrvoje will tell you more about this, more about this later. We also do integration. For example, we integrate solutions which were provided to us by our customers in existing ecosystems, in existing ecosystem of OpenWrt, for example, or we create or we create our own solutions which we then integrate in ecosystems of our clients. So it's a vice versa process. We also do consulting services, meaning that we talk with our clients, consult them on what to do, how to do it, what is possible, what is not, how something should be done. And we also recognize education and training as an important part of the business as well. So we participate in different conferences around Europe, around the world. We always tend to give an educational lectures to our customers as well, provide them detailed documentation, detailed knowledge base on the projects that we are collaborating on. Industries that we are working with, so embedded device manufacturers. For example, what we do is some company creates a piece of hardware which contains, I don't know, full stack, hardware stack which is necessary for a normal gateway, but they do not have any software support on it. So they ship us this hardware, and what we do, we put an OpenWrt, we put a Linux distribution on the hardware, on the gateway to make it work, and then later on deployed for the end users. We also do collaborations with telecoms. We create software for telecoms for provisioning, for example, making gateways and routers telecom ready. We also work with semiconductor manufacturers, some of the renowned names of semiconductor manufacturers. For example, when they have new architecture, when they create some new piece of new microprocessor which does not have a support in OpenWrt, we are the people who actually do it. And we also collaborate with the open source community, especially the OpenWrt community. How? Not only that we use open source projects, programs, applications which we need, we also aim to contribute back. So if we find something which is missing, something which might be done better or something like that, we always try to give back to the community in ways of patches or some other means to give them back. In our company, since we are using especially OpenWrt, Linux in general is getting more and more industry involved, so to say. OpenWrt, which we are using, we noticed that in the last few years, it's very rapidly being recognized by telecoms, for example, as a possible quality solution for their own hardware and their own products. So it is actually becoming slowly, I hope, one day that it will become fully a standard used by telecoms. So we aim to gather engineers from each discipline which is necessary for embedded software, complete embedded software development. So we gather software developers, system administrators, front-end developers, especially now when, for example, with the boom of IoT, everybody wants to have a fancy web UI which is connected on some gateway, some other appliances. So we also do the front-end development as well. We gather DevOps, integrators, and testers as well to deliver quality products to our customers. As a 21st century company, we offer flexible working hours for our customers, meaning for our employees, meaning that you can organize your time as you want, but you have to meet the deadline at the end. We also have currently 2 offices in Zagreb and Osijek. Hrvoje is from office in Osijek. And you can work from office or as our colleague who is currently in Rijeka. He works remotely, so we offer both possibilities of working. We have a pleasant work environment. Average age in the office is 27, maybe now 28. So as you can see, it's quite a young team. What we also care about when talking about our employees is self-improvement, not only on the technical level, which is natural. We only encourage communication, leadership, and foreign language skills for our employees. Currently, I'm just thinking like at the office, I don't know, I think that each one of us has participated in some meeting, in some one-on-one talks with our customers. So we encourage that everybody is involved in projects personally with customers all the time. And of course, we use internal organizational processes, wikis, ticketing systems, and everything that other companies use as well. What are our competitive advantages as an open source, as a FOSS based company? So first, from the internal perspective, we are continuously reinvest the profit into the company. For example, last year at the beginning of 2016, we had only 5 employees. By the end, we had 15. So it's quite a growth for the company. And also, with this growth, you get a completely new clients. Clients are getting bigger. There are no more startup companies. They're now becoming telecoms. They're now becoming multinational companies. So it's changing completely on the customer level as well. We have the long-term experience in open source projects. Not only that we are participating at one project, we are participating at multiple projects at the same time. And we have a good knowledge on how the open source community works, what are the principles and philosophy behind, and we are active members, which not only do give back to the open source community, we also tend to participate on different international conferences. We, for example, were present on OpenWrt Summit in Berlin last year and in Ireland, I think 2 years ago, where we also were one of the speakers. We also were on Embedded World, Mobile World Congress, and this year we also had a presentation on Google I/O in Zadar. So we are trying to be not only active in open source community on, so to say, code level, we are also trying to be active on the community level by giving back to the community knowledge and all of the other experience that we have when dealing with open source as a business. Okay, now Hrvoje will tell you more about the technical background, what we use, how we use it.
Yeah, so regarding the FOSS itself, I know that you know the term, but let's just mention a few things about the FOSS. So you all know that it stands for free and open source software. So I'm really glad that the guys who are not here, I guess, had a presentation before us. So they spoke about the FOSS from the point of view of the author of the project. We are actually, presentation is about from the other side, from the company side, from the company that uses the FOSS tools, FOSS technologies to build their own set of core thing that can sell out there. So, but a few things about the FOSS. So you know that there are open licenses there. So there are GPL, there is MIT, there is Apache license, etc. You all know that this means, well, depending on the license, this means that you have the right to distribute, to use, to modify, to do, like I said, depending on license, to do whatever you want with the project. So we are using this to build our knowledge around our core technology that we'll mention later on, and sell the knowledge, the services, the knowledge and the services to the other companies. But basically, you can skip the next, yeah. So what it does is you have basically a source code. The guy said that the source code is actually an asset. Everything else is, well, you need to have a monetary value behind this business case, but we have the source code, and what we do is we have knowledge into OpenWrt. We can use this knowledge to sell services to others, to other big companies, you know? So like Davor said, the semiconductor manufacturers, the boards that they build, you know, they want to have support, the OpenWrt support in the board. This is what we do. This is the core business, actually. So a few benefits of this. So why do we do this? So since we have the source code, you have the project, you have the community around this. So you have an army of developers, possibly, army of testers, army of users. So this is the benefit. So it decreases the cost. For example, we are using, like I said, OpenWrt. So it's an operating system. Who will build your own operating system from scratch? You know, or the compiler or something like before. You know, you have the GNU toolchain, you have LLVM. Use this. Try to sell this. So this is the benefit. It decreases the costs. And of course, increases stability and security. Many will argue this, but I'm not quite sure anymore. I worked at the really huge companies before, and to be honest, I really hate it. I hate every bit of it. I mean, I've worked on the proprietary, the closed source project, which absolutely has many bugs, and it is actually sold to many customers which actually really hate our bugs. And so there are a few of our guys doing that in the companies before, so really hate it. This is another way of doing the programming, doing the software, you know. So you have, like I said, army of users. So anyone, to be able to even participate in a huge project, you have to, when you make your patch, you have to not just implement the logic, you have to write the test cases. This is not so true in the proprietary, but yeah, it depends when you're working, but this is my experience, so yeah. And like I said, you have access to the source code, which is really, even if the project dies, for example, like OpenWrt, even hypothetically, it's not, but even if it dies tomorrow, you still have access to source code. We still have knowledge about the source code, about the project. We can continue working on as we do now. So yeah. And a little bit more about our internal open source technologies that we use and that we have knowledge in. Like I said, we had low-level knowledge about the GNU Linux itself, especially OpenWrt, so we can develop, you know, and support something around this ecosystem that Linux provides, that OpenWrt provides. Like I said, or Davor said, we have consulting services. So Davor, for example, was one of the customers, you know, in private, telling them how do they install OpenWrt, how to do this, do that. And also, like Davor said, we are developers and supporters of generally open source tools that we use in our company. So generic ones, you know, doesn't have nothing to do with Sartura. But yeah, we are focused on the GNU Linux. But as Davor maybe mentioned, we are embedded development company, but we are also doing web UI, so the web technology, all right? So we are also building a web UIs using JavaScript, CSS, HTML, and of course the frameworks like Vue.js. We are also doing testing, documentation, etc. Yeah. You can go. So anyway, this means that we are actually not divided, but the whole team is consisting of 3 types. So we have a backend developers in C, in C++, in Go, actually, yeah. And we have embedded Linux administrators. So the guys so you got the new Raspberry Pi 4, for example, you need to support, somebody wants the support from us to build OpenWrt to be able to run on this new Raspberry Pi. So these are the guys who does that. And we have, like I said, front-end developers. And so a little bit about development environment. We are not using Windows. Not that we hate Windows. We're just, you cannot do such things that we do in Windows. It's technically impossible. So we use Linux, of course, as the workstation. We are mainly using the Arch Linux, yeah? Some of us using the Gen 2, and probably one guy, I saw that one guy is using actually Unix, FreeBSD. Yeah. And like you all know, we do a lot of stuff. So C, C++, Go, JavaScript, Lua, Python, you know. And what is more important, well, not more, but it's important to know tools like Git, like Docker. So we use those tools every day, each day. You know, so Docker is quite a central component from us. And finally, so the OpenWrt is our actually core business. All right, so this, we are using it to build support for new boards, to actually write. We use it as a platform, as an SDK. When we write our tools, which you hand over to customers, those tools are running on top of the OpenWrt, and those tools are using the components that OpenWrt provides. So, so few of you know what is OpenWrt. Do you actually, have you ever built one from source? Maybe no. Okay, probably, yeah. Don't lie. All right, so it's an operating system. It's a GNU Linux operating system. It's free. It's open source, of course, and it's highly customizable, really. And we, as Sartura, as a company, are active contributors. So we're also maintaining a couple of packages that come with the OpenWrt. And so, what are the advantages? Why not some other system? Why OpenWrt? So it's free, it's open source, yada yada. But what it does, did you ever bought a piece of equipment like router, for example, and you probably, like I did, Linksys a long time ago, they have a firmware which is, well, it lacks a lot of features, let's say like that, just so. And what did I do? I just erased this firmware, just installed the OpenWrt on top of it. So you're actually constrained. You know, when you buy a new router or board, you're actually constrained. For example, a Raspberry Pi, you know, what is so I heard a student from OSIEC that he's doing a personal project and he uses Raspberry Pi, it doesn't matter which one, but it uses Raspbian. So why would you use Raspbian? Firstly, he doesn't need X server, he doesn't need billions of things, and actually he needs to download 1 gigabyte of operating system. Why not just use OpenWrt if you're doing your IoT stuff, you know? So your application needs to read some sensor data, whatever, some telemetry. You know, it's really not comfortable to use such a big system. So consider using OpenWrt. And what is more, OpenWrt has a package management included in it. Just like Ubuntu and every other Linux distribution, you have a package management. So it's not, you know, just you build your image, your firmware, you build your image for the device, and you know, that's it. No, it's not. You can use the package management to download and install additional things, or to uninstall some things that you don't need. So all this means that the OpenWrt is really adaptable to us for our customer needs. And a couple of more things. It's small. It's really small. You can actually build OpenWrt at size of 2 to 4 megabytes. So the whole operating system in 4 megabytes in size. Yeah, it depends which board, what you want. Yeah, but yeah, it's possible. It's really amazing. And okay, so you got the source code, but you don't know how to build it, or you don't need to know. You really don't have time to do this. No problem. Just go to their web page and download the pre-built images for your device. You know, so you can download, install it with no knowledge of how to build, etc. And like many open source projects, it has a centralized knowledge base in form of forums and wikis, yeah, it a little bit lacks here, but yeah, there is a documentation. And we are actually writing our own documentation inside Sartura, a book about our knowledge of OpenWrt. And like I didn't said, but it has more than 3,000 packages, and you can build your own package. And so, how do we do this? I mean, so you saw that we are doing C, C++, JavaScript, Go, Python, Lua. So you have to have a development environment set up. So if you're, for example, a new guy coming to our company, what you do, what you generally do in any other companies when you're a newcomer. So you're asking a dozen of other developers how to do this and that. Well, yeah, so the idea was not to do this. We wrote an article, actually, we can open up for you to see, but it's an open source. It's a really long article in which you have from zero to the ultimate, as we said it, open source development environment. You have everything set up and configured as the way it should be, well, at least from our side. So you have Arch Linux, the step-by-step how to install Arch Linux, the components that you need, the base, the base build, and the other packages like Vim. We are using Vim for our development generally. Yeah, but if you jump to the article, you will see that the Vim is actually on steroids. So it is configured to act like a real IDE, like a Visual Studio. So you have everything, you have IntelliSense, you have Tree Explorer, you have the fancy function list, you have fuzzy Finder search, everything, yeah. We can open it up for you to just see.
No Wi-Fi.
Okay, we will not open it. But yeah, the presentation will be available to you, I guess, and you can hop on. And actually, just to say this, yeah, what is really important is that we wrote this article. I wrote it from the beginning, and a few colleagues from the company jumped in. And what is really cool about this is that some time ago, a guy approached me in a way of a pull request, of course, using GitHub. So a guy that is author of one of the Vim plugins that we used. So he approached me and told me, I really want you to use this to use my change. It's really fantastic. I just wrote an article 2 hours before, and he, immediately comes in. It's really nice. Yeah. So it's the whole. Just 1 second about this. The whole article is written. For example, I was involved in open source as far as I know. I don't have any knowledge about anything else, so Microsoft products, etc. I don't have knowledge about that, but I'm really active user of the open source. Yeah, I have my iPhone here. I don't like Android, but yeah, I really like the open source thing, and I like the configurability that you have, and of course, yeah, this does involve that you need to invest time or money to actually configure this, but yeah, I like the power of this. Yeah, so Davor will just say a few words about the pros and cons of doing open source in such company as ours.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to present you a bit now from a practical perspective, what we encounter every day, what might be the pros, what might be the cons of working with open source in general. The positive sides when you use open source technology, open source projects for creating your own solutions is, first of all, quality. At one project, you can have hundreds, thousands of not only developers, but testers, users who are using it at home and they find the bug. You can have thousands of contributors at once. Some of them are reporting bugs, some of them are fixing bugs, some of them are providing documentation on how to use, and this all contributes to very high quality of the products at the end, very high source quality, very high quality on the available material for the project, for the subject.
So don't neglect the harsh amount of users. So You don't need to be a developer or a tester. You can just actually be yourself and use the, I don't know, OpenWrt or whatever, or Git, whatever. But you have your own set of configured environment, you know, and maybe you will discover some bug that the other don't have because they don't use such environments. So there are a lot of users with a lot of different environments. So this is really a huge amount of manpower.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, that's true. But what also is a huge positive here is the customization and flexibility of the existing source code. So for example, what we encounter in our everyday practice, customer wants some feature to be implemented. What you do, you go and search for the best solution. You can have multiple options at once, and then you choose one, okay, that's it, I will use this one. If for example, we have something that is not supported in any of these features, we can take one of the features, one of the applications and implement the feature ourselves. So it's very customizable and flexible to use open source for developing end projects. On the other hand, interoperability, what does this mean? For example, we had the most problems when we were combining at the same time functionality of Linux and functionality of Windows. For example, we had some problems with, I think, Samba it was, which was working normally when you combine two Linux machines, but we had problems when we were using Linux plus Windows machine. Why? Because it turns out that in open source, standards, RFCs, protocols, and everything is followed more precisely than on closed source. And you can always modify it if it's not precise to be precise. That's also a huge plus. Not to mention the community behind it. You can always talk to somebody. You can always search for the solution. You can always report problems. You can participate in community in many ways. You can test the software as much as you can on different piece of hardware, on different, with virtualization technologies such as LXC, if you want to check how your program behaves on different Linux distributions at once. And as Hrvoje said, you avoid vendor lockdown, meaning that you get a device and you do not depend on vendor, what he put in it, how he configured it, and how you must use it. You have the full freedom to modify it to yourself. Of course, as in every industry, there are some negative sides. For example, when you're working with customers at one point, you will probably have to deal with proprietary software. For example, in routers, the biggest blob, binary blob that you can find very often is Wi-Fi drivers. So you are using basically Wi-Fi drivers most of the time as a binary blob. If something breaks, then you cannot do much about it. You report it back to your customer, they contact their developers or some third party. When they reply back, blah, 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 it takes a long time and it prolongs the time to market. As on every project here, even though everything is free, you can get it free, there are always hidden costs. If you, for example, choose something, some solution, you realize that this solution does not support the feature that you need, then you need to have developer, you need to have time, you need to do research how to implement it. So hidden costs are here as well. It's not everything perfect, that everything is perfect. Learning curve can be quite elongated, so to say. Why? Because many of the solutions are not user-friendly. So for the newcomers, it's very hard sometimes to learn it quickly. They have to pass the learning curve because you don't have a fancy GUI where you click and it magically works. You have to figure out how it works, configure it yourself. But once you know how to do it, then open source solutions usually are very powerful tools at the end. And as in the previous presentation, risk of abandonment. This is something that is constantly happening. You have a package which is being maintained. After 1 year, you need that package again. The package is no longer supported. It's dead. Nobody is maintaining it. Either you have to maintain it or find another solution. So working with open source is easy. It's very friendly. It's very, how to say, you can do it everywhere. You can make money out of it, but you also have to be aware that it's not perfect in a sense. Everything works. Everything is fine. I just have to use it. You always have to put some effort in it, depending on your clients, depending on what you are doing, and depending what technologies you want to use at the end. So, for the end,
a couple, just 1 minute more. So, as a company, we have, of course, open positions. Yeah, and so you heard the drill. We do many things, so you can find yourself in. So we are looking for C, C++, Go, JavaScript, well, web technologies, etc. So development in such area. We are also looking for people which know how to use Linux, of course, how to use Bash or Z Shell, and yeah. So if you're willing, I forgot about the advantage would be given to users who know how to use version control systems. So Git, but really advanced Git, so not just, and push-pull. Yeah, it would be really cool if you have published some of your private projects or public open source projects to GitHub, so you know how to use GitHub for pull requests, etc. And it would be really cool if you're using Arch Linux instead of Ubuntu, okay? And, well, have experience in any of mentioned technologies so far. If you do, and if you feel like this is good stuff, please call us. Please send us email to posao@sartura.hr. So just throw us email saying, hi, how are you? So I want to come to your office to see what you're doing, Please do. So we are looking for C developer, Go developer, embedded Linux administrator, and of course, front-end developers. And yeah, so thank you for your time. I hope that we didn't quite break the time. So I was told that we have just a time for one question, and one question only, so please, well, be good. Does anyone have a question?
Can I install OpenWrt on this piece of shit?
Well, you can try. Yeah, it's Android, so it's written. It's running Linux, so yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You can with a bit of tweaking.
But yeah, I know. I should want to say. Well, I started using Android before it was 1.0. It was actually good. Now at the moment it's really. Yeah, Linux is behind, but the shell, the layer behind it, above it is really, really slow and really not. Architecturally is good, but I don't like it slow. I like to be fast, and this phone is really fast. Yeah, it's not open source, but hey. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. We'll take a 5-minute break until Marian sets up his gear. So 5-minute break and we continue with the next presentation.
Htio sam da ga